Today I'm going to show you how to crochet in a circle. They're very helpful when you want to make stuffed animals, or if you want to make coasters or hats, anything that requires going in a circle. So the first thing that we're going to do, you want to leave a little bit of a tail but not a really long one, and we're just going to do a slip knot on our crochet hook. And then what we're going to do is we're going to chain 2. So we go over, we grab our yarn, we bring it through once, bring it through twice, and now we're going to do 6 single crochet in the second chain from the hook, which is the one right above slip knot. So we're just going to go in, and it doesn't really matter if you go through 1 loop or 2 loops for the going to do 1. And you'll see as I start to swing around, I'm going to crochet over my tail. And what that means is I'm just going to make sure that my tail is between my working yarn and the stitch I'm going into. So that way as I crochet, it gets trapped. So that's 2. We'll do 3, 4. 5 and 6. Now there are a couple of tools that are very important when you're doing circles. The most important tool for me is a locking stitch marker. You can use a safety pin if you don't have a locking stitch marker, and they're called locking stitch markers because they can actually lock closed. Okay, so you're gonna put this stitch marker in this stitch that we've just worked, which is going to indicate that's the last stitch of the round. So I'm just going to put it in. You don't have to close it, but if you want to, you can do that. And then the second most important thing is to keep track of your rounds. So you can use a stitch counter if you want. This is one, when you click it, it'll change. I also have another one here that looks more like a stopwatch, but it's still the same one where if you click it, the numbers change. Okay, or if you don't want to get a stitch counter, you can do tally marks, or you can make little notes on your pattern, but it's important to keep track of what round you're on. So now once we have done our initial round, you're going to increase evenly in order to have it be a flat circle. So since we started with 6 stitches, we're going to increase an additional 6 stitches. And we do that by doing 2 single crochets in each stitch. Okay, so that's also known as an increase. So we go into the first stitch and we're going under both loops now. Okay, so we go 1. And then we go into that same spot again for the second one. And we're going to do this all the way around. So we go into our next one. Same stitch again for the second one. Okay, and for this, really, since we have the stitch marker, you can just count 1 and then 2. And then go to the next stitch, 1 and then 2. Because you know when we get up to our stitch marker, we're going to take our marker out. This is the last stitch of the row, so we're going to do 2 more in here. We're going to put our stitch marker, it goes in the stitch right behind the hook. We're going to tally off our row done. And then you can kind of pull the tail so that the hole in the middle disappears. Okay. If you know how to do the magic loop, you can do that. The magic ring. I always like chain 2 and then go into the second chain from the hook. It's the way I was first taught, and I'm most comfortable with that. So now we want to increase again. But if we increase in every stitch, we'll be adding 12 stitches, and we only want to be adding 6 stitches. So what we're going to do is we're going to increase in the first stitch. So that means our 2 stitches in the first one. And then we're just going to do 1 stitch in the next one. And then we repeat that. So we do 1, 2 in the same one, and then 1. So 2 in the next one, and then 1, 2 in the next, and then 1, 2, and then a single one. We do 2 more. Now your last stitch will help you figure out if you did the right number of stitches around, because you'll see that we have 1 stitch left and we just had to do 1 more. Okay, so let me show you 1 more increase round. So, and you can see how we're pretty flat. Okay, so now the next one we're going to increase again. So we're going to do 2 in the first one. But now what we want to do is we want to do a single in the next 2 stitches. So we do 1 single and a second single in the next stitch. And then back to our increase of 2 in the same. And then 1 in the next 2. 2 in the next one. And then 1 each. And you're going to continue in this manner throughout the whole project. You can keep adding stitches until the circle gets as big or as small as you want it. And you're going to constantly be adding 6 stitches. So once we're done with this one, I'll explain what that means. So again, we're at the end of our round. We've got 1. We take our marker out, and then we put our last stitch of the round in that one. And then we keep track of our row. Now, if you forget to change rows, or if you don't have a row counter and you want to figure out what row you're on, you're going to start from the center. So this first center is 1. So this is round 1. And then you see how there's rings? So each ring is another row. So this would be 1, then 2, 3, and 4. So we've done 4 rows. Okay? So now we want to continue. So we're always going to start with 2 in the first one. And now we're up to 3. So we go 2, 1, 1, 1, and then 2, 1, 1, 1. And you're going to continue in this manner either until the circle is as big as you want, or you get up to the number of stitches that your pattern calls for. And if you want to double check how many stitches you have, you can count. And it's easiest to count from the top. You'll see how they create little V's. You're going to count your V's. So I'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So again, if you're going by a pattern, you'll look at your pattern and you'll see that row 4 should have 24 stitches. I have 24 stitches, and you're all set to continue. If you're making a ball or a shape, if you're making a amigurumi or a stuffed animal, and you need to make their head, what you'll be doing is you're going to increase until the desired number of stitches. Once your circle gets as big as you want, then you'll be doing 1 stitch per stitch. So you do 1 in each around, and you would do that for as long as the pattern tells you. But this is how we crochet a circle.